The Sony FX3 and a7S III have slowly become two of the most used cameras by filmmakers at a range of different production levels. And in this video, we want to take a look at why it's done so well and explore whether or not it should be your next camera. We've shot a lot with the FX3 since its release, and it really can produce some fantastic imagery. For the kind of filming that we do, it's a very good option for us to use as it's incredibly versatile and can produce excellent looking results. This is one of the big reasons I've seen this camera being used on short films, documentaries, brand films, corporate filmmaking, and even by esteemed cinematographer Greg Fraser, who used it alongside larger cinema cameras in the upcoming feature, The Creator. The sensor that the FX3 houses is a large component of what makes this camera so fantastic, and a go-to choice for so many filmmakers. The 12.1 megapixel full-frame back-illuminated sensor has excellent performance, and there are many aspects about it that help make the FX3 such a versatile camera for filmmakers. It has fantastic dynamic range, which allows you to capture great looking imagery as long as you white balance and expose your images correctly. You have a range of Cine modes, which will allow you to shoot in S-Log3, and your choice of colour gamut, sgamma3.cine being the common choice here. Colour has improved a lot with Sony cameras over the years, and these modern cameras from Sony can look great. S-Cinetone can work for fast turnaround projects, but I think using a S709 LUT and tweaking it in post, or using a third-party one, can produce better looking images. The sensor also has an extremely fast readout speed, which makes it great for run and gun filmmaking where you are capturing unpredictable scenes from shoot to shoot. But probably the biggest aspect of the sensor that people focus on is its dual-based ISO, which will change depending on the gamma you are in and what shooting mode you're in, but in S-Log3 it's 800 and 12,800, which is similar to the FX6's. Depending on what log shooting mode you are in will change how you switch between the bases, but having these two available will allow you to easily switch between them on the fly depending on your lighting conditions. For filmmakers who react to the light and scenario in front of them, this is a massive feature as you can really push the ISO up and not worry too much about a massive change in image quality. There are so many different filmmaking styles that this will benefit, and I've heard of countless times shots that have been saved because of the extra sensitivity you can pull with the second base. The FX3 has solid image stabilization built in, which can really help for run and gun filmmakers shooting handheld, especially when paired with a stabilized lens as well. You can also use the gyroscopic metadata captured in camera to stabilize your footage fast in post, which can work really well. While the FX3 doesn't have the most current iteration of Sony's excellent autofocus system, it's still very good, and a fantastic tool for many filmmakers and videographers to use alongside manual focusing for those more challenging shots that you can't pull manually. You have a good range of customization for autofocusing and solid manual focus tools as well here. If you want to get the absolute most out of the autofocus though, I would suggest grabbing native E-mount lenses. E-mount not only has loads of lens options, regardless of your budget, but thanks to the shallow flange depth of E-mount, you also have the option to adapt a huge range of lenses onto the camera as well. Lens choice is a massive factor for anyone investing into a camera ecosystem they want to grow in as they progress as a filmmaker. So if you want some more tailored advice on what to grab for your exact filmmaking needs, get in contact with our experienced team. When it comes to recording formats, you can capture in DCI 4K, UHD, and Full HD in a mix of different flavors of XAVC, depending on what kind of data rate and compression you want to use. There's a really nice mix to choose from here depending on what's best for the shooting scenario that you're in. The FX3 features H.265, which can be a really good option if you have the ability to handle the files well in post, such as if you have a Mac with Apple's M series of processors inside. The FX3 can capture a range of base frame rates, which actually includes 24p now as of the most recent major firmware that the camera receives. One thing I would love to see in Sony cameras going forward though is the ability to capture the full 3:2 aspect ratio of the sensor, as you can with the Venice camera system. Fingers crossed we see this in a future range of cameras from Sony. When it comes to high frame rates, which you can change on the fly now via a custom button, you can capture 4K UHD up to 120 frames per second, which you can do in a few different formats, but most impressively being the all-eye flavour in 422 10-bit with full autofocus and no pixel binning or line skipping, as well as 240 frames per second in Full HD. The slow motion out of the camera looks fantastic. It's clean and decently free from compression artifacts. You can also output 16-bit RAW at 4.2K up to 60 frames per second, which we know plenty of productions that have used due to the increased versatility of shooting ProRes RAW with a compatible Atmos recorder. Having this option for productions that need the ability to shoot RAW is great, and if you want to do so, you can easily just grab a Ninja 5 and shoot away. With the version 3 update of the FX3, Sony also added anamorphic support to the camera, though this is currently quite limited. It's essentially just a 1.3 and 2 times D-squeeze in camera. If you're planning on shooting anamorphic with the FX3, one thing to consider is what delivery format you are aiming for, as with the current set of recording formats, 1.3 times could work well with a little bit of cropping, whereas for 2 times you'll probably have to do some massive cropping to get down to conventional anamorphic delivery formats. It's a good addition, but I hope this is just the start of Sony adding anamorphic support to these systems. The FX3's body is very compact and lightweight, so it's great for rigging up as well as getting onto light support equipment, which makes it incredibly versatile. For the kind of market that this is aimed at, it's a great size, and it's decently affordable to get rigging and support kit for the camera. You have a good range of mounting points, but a cage will definitely provide more robust mounting for accessories like a monitor. Using the FX3 handheld is pretty nice, but I don't really like the position of the record button and the joystick on the top of the camera, as it can be hard to reach when using it handheld sometimes, but it also can be useful when in different configurations. I really like all of the tally lights across the camera as well. They're really useful in so many different situations. It also has a fan that other Alpha series cameras do not, which means that you can record for much longer without experiencing overheating as quickly as some of the other smaller Alpha series cameras. We've shot a lot with the FX3 and have really not had too many issues with overheating. The included top handle is a massive feature of this camera. It mounts directly onto the camera using the MI shoe on the top and 2 captive 1/4-inch screws, and it adds a whole lot of audio functionality. The handle feels good, but it's not quite as robust or functional as the ones on the FX6 or 9. I wish it had a record button on it as well, and maybe even some kind of control dial to make it a bit more versatile. This handle will not only allow you to record better audio because of the improved preamps, but also allow you to use XLR microphones, which opens up a whole new world of possibilities. It will also allow for both analog and digital audio when combined with the stereo 3.5mm mic input on the XLR unit, which allows you to capture up to 4 channels of audio. One big plus for the FX3 over the FX6 is that it also has a 3.5mm jack on the body, so if you're running it on a gimbal and you want to take the handle off, you can still capture some kind of audio with the FX3, whereas you can't with the FX6. The FX3 has one of Sony's best menu systems in their video cameras to date, thanks to the continued updates that this camera has received. It's more refined than previous Sony Alpha menus, and I would say pretty easy to learn for people who haven't used Sony cameras before. You have a new touch interface system, as well as the ability to take all the key settings off of your monitor so you can view a nice clean image without any of the settings overlaid. There are a bunch of features crammed into the camera now which make shooting with it a great experience. This includes stuff like the ability to import, monitor and burn in LUTs, breathing compensation with compatible Sony lenses, a fantastic zebra tool for exposing, the ability to punch in while recording, timecode compatibility with the optional BNC M1 cable, and loads more. I also love the white balance function on the FX3. It's so much faster and easier to use with smaller white balance cards than some of Sony's other cameras, which is great for us as we use the Calibrite Color Checker Passport all the time. I prefer this system to the one in the FX6, so I'm really hoping that they bring this one over to the FX6 because it will make things so much easier. I would also love to see Sony add a shutter angle and some other exposure tools like false color and a waveform, but I doubt that's going to happen as I know lots of people have already been asking for these features to be added. There are also a few key accessories worth exploring if you're wanting to pick up an FX3. First off is power. You could grab some of the regular NPF Z100 type batteries or run an external one if you want to power other accessories on your rig. You can also power the camera via USB-C, which is really helpful if you need to power the camera in a pinch and have a PD battery with you. Next is media. I would suggest grabbing some lower speed SD cards when you don't need to shoot the faster data rate formats, and then when you do need some speed, Angelbird now offer a 1TB Safe Express Type A card, which at £549 is a lot of storage and performance for the money. One thing also worth thinking about is how you use an ND. This could be via a front-mounted ND or a mount adapter, of which there are now a few options to choose from. On the more affordable end, I would say the easy recommendation is Mica's drop-in filter adapter. They offer both EF and PL variants that perform excellently for their price. However, if you want the most robust and best performing ND mount that we've tested, I would check out the Kippertise revolver system. However, if you do want to take advantage of the great autofocus system, you will most likely want to grab G-Master lenses and some kind of front-mounted ND solution. And lastly, I would consider possibly adding some kind of hardware if you need to mount any accessories onto your camera. SmallRig and Tilta have some nice options specifically designed for the FX3. The FX3 and the A7S III are incredibly similar to each other, so they are often compared when people are looking at buying one of them. The A7S III is roughly £400 less than the FX3, and does have some missing features that the FX3 has. However, the two key features that the A7S III has over the FX3 is its traditional Alpha Series physical design and the viewfinder, which will be the massive pull for so many people to choose the A7S III. However, if you don't mind not having the viewfinder, the FX3 offers everything great about the A7S III, but with loads of additional features and tweaks, as well as that brilliant XLR top handle. The FX3 is a fantastic compact and versatile camera system, and it's easy to see why it's become so popular over the past couple of years. Sony has done such a great job at creating a lineup of cameras that allow users to get onto their ladder, invest into E-mount lenses, and know that they can stay with them as they upgrade camera systems. It can also be a great B or C camera for productions using larger Sony cameras due to them being easy to match and similar to operate. Anyway, let us know what you think of the FX3, or if you have any further questions about it in the comments below. And if you like the video, please give it a like and maybe consider subscribing so you don't miss out on our awesome upcoming content. And thank you so much for watching.